Air-cooled Porsches are held in high esteem in the hearts of petrolheads, and many would even turn their nose up at the latest computerised flappy paddle GT3 in favour of a good old-fashioned 993. Well, here we have the very last 993, the very last air-cooled 911 ever produced, the 993 Turbo S. When you think 911 Turbo, you immediately think fast, and even 20 years on, this is no exception. With 450 horsepower from a twin turbocharged 3.6 litre flat six, and 0 to 60 time of 3.7 seconds, it's still rapid today and must have been unbelievable in the 90s. Just 345 Turbo S were ever produced, and this is one of only 35 right-hand drive examples. This one has covered just 17,000 miles from new, and thanks to our friends at Lakeside Classics, we're about to put a few more on it across some of the best roads in North Wales. As a petrolhead, or more specifically a Porsche nut like me, having roads like this on a day like today in the middle of nowhere and driving an old 911 is pretty much heaven. But this one's just not any old 911, is it? A 993 Turbo S is ridiculously rare. In fact, in right-hand drive form, they only made 35 of these cars, and what we're about to find out is that it's still hilariously fast, even by modern day standards. In fact, interestingly enough, I drove the new 992 Carrera S yesterday. This car has exactly the same amount of power as the 992 Carrera S, but the way they deliver that power could not be more different. That was quite linear. This, you just wait for the turbos and hold on. When you're used to the new stuff, old 911s can take a little bit of getting used to with the floor hinge pedals. The driving position's quite offset, so I'm sort of facing that way to the pedals and the wheel. But it doesn't take too long, and it's one of those quirks that gives the car character. In fact, the whole way this car delivers power gives to the character as well. I said when I drove one of these before that it's one of the few cars that doesn't really need exhaust noise. It doesn't sound of a lot, but it's got that much character in the car itself. It doesn't really need it. Yeah, you really have to work to get the performance from it. Not in the sense of the engine, but just in balancing the car. It's not like the new 911s where they've really worked to iron out that rearward balance. You have to manage the weight balance throughout the corner. You have to blip your downshifts. It's actually a bit of a workout, to be honest, when it's warm like today. God, it's fun. And it shows that this car, it just has modern day sports car performance when you can hang on to the back of a sports bike. The thing I love about an old 911 on a road like this is you don't necessarily have to go all that quick. It takes a little while to get used to it, like I said, with the pedals and the balance. But it means that when you get it right, it really does reward you, and I think I could drive this around all day. It's not like some of the modern cars where you sort of reach their potential within 5 minutes of driving them. I think you need quite a bit of time to properly bond with this and get the best from it. This location's amazing. You can just see so far in front of you on this road. There's no one else on it. Totally in the middle of nowhere. Just a blue sky and big expanse of road to enjoy this. How often are you going to get to drive a 993 Turbo S just out in the open on a road like this? I'm not sure I'll ever get to do it again, so making the most of it. It's a pretty thrilling ride, to be honest, and oh my god, the road you can just see all the way down like that. As well as how it drives, it's just quite a cool thing to be in because it sort of blends old school and new school. It is all quite old-fashioned in here with the narrow pillars and everything being quite sparse, but it was one of the first cars that really went to town on carbon fibre. Like all the trim here, the door cards, is all proper gloss carbon fibre, and it makes it feel quite special because not any other 993 had that. Just like the side vents, the front splitter, the big rear wing, the yellow calipers, the Turbo S has got these few special bits that make it different to even a 993 Turbo. And it's nice these days to just have 5 analog dials in front of you, and we're getting used to screens that you can configure every little thing. I kind of like the simplicity of something older like this, although it does have a little trip computer in the middle which has a little boost gauge on it, so I can forgive it for that, because everyone loves a boost gauge, don't they? Everything about this car is just about the driving, and you as the driver. There's nothing distracting, there's no tech to just take your mind off the job of, frankly, wrestling it down the road. A lot of people are attracted to classic cars, just the idea of them, but then you sometimes get in them and think, oh, like, it's really slow, it's got no brakes, it doesn't handle. But for me, the beauty of this is it has the best of both. It feels like a classic car, it's got that charm and character, but the performance is very much modern day. I think if we took this on a drive, it would stick with all the modern supercars. You're probably going to be working a little bit harder, but I think because of that, you might be having more fun. It really does blend sort of old and new perfectly. It is actually quite stiff for an older car. Like, a lot of the older cars, when you get in them these days, roll a lot, but not this, it stays so flat. Does mean it's quite firm over the bumps, but when you're on a smooth surface like this, it just absolutely takes apart a road. Almost like we've got used to modern 911 turbos do. But unlike the modern turbos that are just absolutely flawlessly go about their business, this gets you involved in the work as well, with the gearbox, with managing the lag, the weight balance, and it's rewarding because of that. Honestly, it's awesome. You might think it's a bit interesting driving a road like this when someone comes the other way, but you know what, it gives you so much confidence that you sort of forget about the value and you just think about driving it, really. You just enjoy it for what it is. And as well as that, it's not intimidating. There's so much glass here, I can touch the windscreen in front of me, these narrow pillars. You can see everything around you. And something you often forget about with old 911s like this, they're so small. The 992, it's getting quite a big car now. And in Lambos and stuff like that, when someone comes the other way, sometimes you cringe a little bit, but not this. You can take a racing line just within your side of the road. It's so dinky. And it just means you carry so much speed and just enjoy it. It's not hard to see why so many enthusiasts consider the 993 Turbo S as the pinnacle of air-cooled Porsches. It combines classic style and character with performance and handling which still hold up over 20 years later. With so many classics, you have to compromise on some aspect of the driving experience, but not with this. It's a classic you actually want to just go out and grab by the scruff of the neck. Now, price. £339,000 might sound a lot for a late 90s 911, but honestly they don't come much rarer than this. It's a real rush to drive, and of course it looks absolutely beautiful too. If I had that sort of money laying around, I would love one of these in the garage.